So this is the next gadget. This is a swarm trap. I found this actually on Linda's bee blog, if anybody's familiar with Linda Tillman. She's a master beekeeper from Georgia. She writes a blog on the internet, and she actually had this, and I stole it off of her site. So it's really simple to make. You need a couple of these flower pots, okay? These are used in nurseries. This is a 3-gallon size. It's approximately a foot wide by a foot tall. She says you can't buy them in any of the big box stores, can't get them at Lowe's, can't get them at Home Depot or any of those Target. So she gives you a way to order them online. They cost $4 or $5, and with shipping, maybe they cost you $10 when you're done with it. But if you know a local nursery, you can probably go there and see if you can't buy a few from them. So what you do first is you just put a couple holes in the top. All right, and string. She uses actually an electrical tie. I found that the electrical tie is too weak if you're trying to put it over a branch like this, and it broke. So I just took some wire that I had at home, and I used wire and fixed it on the inside. Then the next step is you've got 8 holes, right? 4 in each bottom, 4 here and 4 here. I made these little circles. You don't need to do that. But I then took some of that insulating foam, comes in a can at Home Depot, costs about $3 or $4.
Oh, great stuff.
Great stuff. It's expanding foam insulation basically to fill cracks in your house. And you just squirt a little bit in there and make sure you get enough that it comes out on the top. I actually made these little circles and scotch taped them on just to give it something to butt up against. You want to make sure that you don't do all 8 holes, right? Because you need 1 hole for the bees. So you leave one of them open. There's only 3 in this one. And then what you do, you put the 2 pots together, take a couple of sheet metal screws all the way around. Then what I did is I took it, I tied a rock to the end of a string, I tossed it over one of the branches about 20, 25 feet up, and I pulled this up. And in order to make sure that it didn't swing, at first I just had it hanging, and it was swinging in the breeze like this, and I didn't think that was a good thing. So then I pulled it taut up over a branch like this, and that holds it in place, okay? What I was concerned about at that point was if we get a strong wind and it blows, it's going to break it. So what I did is I put a little shock absorber in my line. I took a little bungee, and I just made a little section of bungee so there's some give in that rope. So when you tie it down, you've got a little give. Now, the nice thing is, so you look up there, you check it every couple of days. If you see that you've got bees in it, you just lower it down to the ground. You take the screws out and right into your nuke or into your hive. So I think altogether probably cost me $10 or $15. They sell these on the at some of the bee supply places. They're about $25, I think, and they're only 1. This seems to be, from what they say, just about the right maximal volume that they're looking for. So yes, inside, actually, thank you. I put a couple of drops of lemongrass oil. You can see the stain in the bottom. Probably a couple of drops more than I should have. And then I put a piece of old comb. This is really not that old. The older the better. The darker and stinkier and blacker the better. Put it in there and then just hoist it up. So really simple. The hardest part is getting the pots. But once you've got the pots, then I sprayed the outside with Thompson's Water Seal. Home Depot, comes in a can, and it's made just to waterproof. And I sprayed the whole thing just to make it a little more waterproof so it'll last a couple of years. But this is not something that's going to be out year in, year out. It's going to be up there during swarm season, and then you're going to take it down and store it till the next year.
So is this your first year putting it up?
This is my first year putting it up. I actually have some pictures, if you want to see them on my phone, of how far up you can get these. Because when we saw, Deb Delaney?
Yep.
She was telling us that all of the feral hives that she finds are 15 feet or greater above, some as high as 100 feet. So you want to get your swarm traps up high if you want to try to, fish for those feral bees. Some statistics I've read is if you get 1 out of 3 of your swarm traps, 30%, you're doing really, really well, right? So if you put up 30 of them, maybe you get 10. Honestly, I've never seen a swarm in my neighborhood. I never saw bees in my neighborhood until I started keeping bees. The reason I put these up, guess?
For your own bees.
In case my own bees swarm, I'm hoping I might be able to catch them. So I've got these two up on either side of my yard. You want to make sure they're facing south or southwest. And I also have a couple of empty hives that I just put on a pallet in my yard. Put some old comb in those too. In case they swarm, maybe they find that one of those old hives is a good home. So this is kind of a preventative measure. Obviously, you try to prevent swarming, but if your bees do swarm, and mine have swarmed, at least one of my hives had swarmed every year. The Deer Path hive swarmed last year. One of my hives at home swarmed last year. You have a chance of catching them. I never saw them. The swarm came and left, and I never knew it until I opened it up and I found the queen cells in there. Charles?
What you were saying about the old hives, I store my equipment sometimes that way. I have a couple of hives that I put out just for this purpose exactly. And for 3 years in a row, the scouts came and they found it. And for 3 years in a row, one day I was looking over there and there they are, in and out, in and out. There's your, that's the efficacy of it.
So that's a great point too. The other thing about swarm traps and wherever you're going to put them, if you catch a swarm somewhere, you want to put that trap back there the next year, right? Okay, that's a good spot. They like it, obviously like it. So they obviously like this spot. The scouts are looking for it. And, you know, if you catch one swarm there, you want to put up your swarm traps the next year.
So Charlie, I only have one hive now. I'm going to set up a second one in case I have to divide them. But are you saying maybe I could just set that up there, take one frame of foundation and put in there, and then maybe, or a drawn out comb and put in the new hive body, and maybe they'll find it?
Well, no, I think your best purposes are served by making a split or a nuke, all right, for your purposes to get a second hive. But for preventive purposes, I would get a one box system set up with a bottom and a top and some drawn comb in it, and maybe one honey. You know, and that way it'll be ready and available, and the scouts will come seek that. And the way they do is the scouts are robbers, or the scouts are scouting for a new place. And when they come in, they find it, they report right back. And once that happens, over they come.
Makes it a lot easier to pick out the branch you're shooting for and get it over that branch. So do it early in the
I
year.
like that too.
But it's a good point. Roger, the only reason I use it's what I had, and I figure for a couple months it'll be okay, but something a little sturdier definitely would be better.
You can use that piece of that to pull your clothesline rope up.
That's a good idea.
You could actually take a fishing pole and camp the line up.
Another great idea.
We've used a bow and arrow when we set up a rope swing, and yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to get the rope up over.
The other thing you can do is tie a rock to the side.
Yeah.
That's what I did. That's the only way I can get it over.
So what prevents a wasp or a yellow jacket, a family member, from going around?
Nothing.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it could happen.
Right, yeah, we're supposed to watch it from the outside to see what comes in and out, but, yeah, I was wondering.
The yellow jackets mainly are going in the ground.
They usually go in the ground. And the wasps that we
Wasps are
see
building paper nests.
yep, usually paper nests. So
I've got yellow jackets all over my gutters. Like, they love my gutters for some reason.
yeah, I could see where the wasps would go in here and make those paper comb.
Yeah.
Those kinds of wasps?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I can see that might happen, so you got to keep an eye on it is all I would say. If you see it, you bring it down, you pull them out.
Right.